Welcome back to Influential Dental, where we are bringing on some of the world's most influential dentists and dental professionals. And we are thrilled because we have a very special guest today. And we are live at the ADI event. And Dr. Aadland has joined us. And we caught her on the fly as she was running around and grabbed her and pulled her over to the booth. But before I introduce her and allow her to share a little bit of her story, I also want to say hello to my co-host, Mike Keeter.
Thank you, Julianne. It's great to be here live in Orlando at the ADA 2024 meeting and also talk with Dr. Aadland. I'll share a little bit of our story, but I've known Dr. Aadland probably for about 15 years. So I'll share a little bit of that once we get going. So again, great to see you and great to have you on our podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Nice. Yeah, so there's so many directions we could go with you. Okay. And I mean, you're an incredible clinician. You do so many things on the business side, and then there's the winery. And you know what I want to talk about, right?
Wine.
So, on this show, we talk about people's journeys and how they overcame things. We talk about mental health. We talk about every topic. But the winery, I mean, all I want to do is come to your winery, which is opening soon. And you guys are so on fire about it. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I know it's like reverse engineering, and we're not going to give the backstory first, but tell us about the winery and what's going on with that and where are you at? And I know you had to reconstruct or construct.
Yeah. So back in 2022, Justin and I bought a fire property. It was in the 2020 glass fires. And unfortunately, they lost a lot of properties during that time. I did not actually know that Justin was stocking these properties. And so every year we go to a big concert in Memorial Day weekend. It's called Bottle Rock and it's in Napa. They always have an incredible lineup. They have good food, good wine. And so we were just going to this concert and he said, "Oh, we're just going to make this quick stop." And that was the undoing. And now why we own a winery. So we fell in love with this property. We drove up. It's on Spring Mountain Road in St. Helena. And as we were driving up, it just had this incredible view of the valley. And it was so quiet. And Justin and I both have this very busy lifestyle. We travel, when we're together, we love it, but we're often not. And so when we showed up and it was just so picturesque and serene. And we thought, wow, like this could be life after dentistry.
Okay. So, but how are you handling it right now while you're practicing?
Yes. Yeah,
because I don't understand. Like I would only want to go there. I would have a really hard time showing up for work.
Luckily, it's kind of our center point as far as we live 2 hours away by flight. It's an hour and 15 minutes between both of us, which is great. We still love dentistry. And so we're just managing it. We're in construction phase. We had to rebuild the house. We're building a cave because of fire. And then we're building a tasting room. And we just want to share our love for dentistry, our love for masterminds, our love for business with the dental community. And then, of course, we all love really good wine. So.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to this because I know you're tying dentistry into the winery with your masterminds and some other things. But first, I'm going to hand the mic to Mike because I know he's got stuff he wants to ask you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And again, thank you for being on the podcast. And again, kind of full circle for me because we reconnected just a couple years ago when I was your rep many years ago when you first started practicing in Vancouver, Washington.
Yes.
And I worked for an implant manufacturing company and called on Dr. Aadland as she was starting out and built her practice there in Vancouver and got to know her then and then throughout the years and now full circle on our podcast and very excited for your journey as knowing your story as, again, starting out as a dentist, now, like I said, entrepreneur, teacher, mentor, everything else you do. So that's very exciting. And so this is fun for me to kind of come back and be here. But I am also enjoy wine being from Oregon in the Northwest. And so I'm very excited again to come and visit you all and go on the journey on the on the dentist side or dental side, but also on the wine drinking side. So I just wanted to share that little story with our listeners and you as well.
Nice. So, okay. So first of all, I didn't know you had this history. Okay. I guess I learn something new every day, but, and it's funny because you never know where people are going to be one day and then the next, right?
So true. Dentistry is so small.
Isn't it crazy interesting? And also I have a fun story. Last time I saw you, you had one of your associates with you who was from Reno, which is where I'm from. And I never meet anyone from Reno. So that
said the same thing.
Yeah. So I was so shocked by that. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about, I mean, it's not easy to do all of this, but specifically to whichever, the practice or the winery or whatever you want to share, tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've maybe had to overcome. Because I think a lot of times we see people, they hit this pinnacle of success, right? And you're an influencer. I mean, your posts are next level beautiful. I'm just like, I want her team, I mean, you look incredible. And so it looks like you're just at this pinnacle of success. Everything is perfect. Tell us a little bit about, what you've had to overcome or what you see that you're, having to deal with that might make people feel like you're human.
Oh, I'm definitely human. One of the things that got me into this world, and especially speaking and being able to beta test products and all that, is that I love my team. I have the best team on the planet. I'm with them all the time. Like, we spend so much time with our work team, often more than our personal lives, our families. And we also are very good at breaking things. You name it. If something's going to go wrong, we have a talent of finding all of those mistakes. And then we try to be very real about that. We have a high technology practice. I have a young team full of women. I have all the same problems that every other dentist has. I have 3 hygienists on maternity leave right now. If anybody has hygienists, they know, like, it is impossible to find hygienists, especially when you have a very large hygiene driven practice. And then bringing new team members on, even to fill in, is scary, because if you have a really good culture, you can't bring anybody in. So you have to really work to make sure that the people that are going to take care of your patients. And then we're high technology, and which means technology breaks. And if we don't take care of it, then things can happen. And it's typically human error, user error. But when you thrive in that technology practice and then all of a sudden you don't have it, then of course, then you have to work around and have other hurdles there too. So I live all the day-to-day, the drama of team members, breaking up with boyfriends or husbands, or not getting pregnant is not a drama. We are so excited for we had 3 baby boys born, which is just so fun, and you love them, but then you also have to run a business. And how do you balance that? So I fight that fight every single day.
Okay. So we need a secret. Like, what's one of the secrets? Because it's hard, right? It's always so dynamic.
It is.
And how do you do it? Like, and obviously you weren't born with this, right? You were taught, or you witnessed something and absorbed the skill set that you have, right?
I came from construction.
Loves you. Oh, construction.
Yeah, like nothing to do with dentistry. So, I didn't have some of those biases. Like, I didn't do things because other people did them. It was just, I grew up in a family company. So I think that was nice, because my parents were very open and shared a lot of things with their employees, to the point where I thought our employees literally were family. I would call them uncle, and I just assumed they really were an uncle somehow. So you learn to treat your family or your team members like family in that respect. But, I don't know if there's any secrets. It's just treat people how you want to be treated. Like, that is probably the best secret that I have, whether it's your patients, whether it's your team members. Know that you're going to be breathing at the end of the day, because it's so easy for us to get caught up, especially high performers, and dentists are high performers. And so if everything's not perfect, a lot of times you shut down. And no one's going to die if they have a slight open margin. No one's going to die if that implant was like 10 degrees off. Now, do we like it? No. Can we learn from it? Yes. Do you take care of your patient? Yes. If your team member breaks a sensor, like, it's expensive and it sucks, but are you going to take it out of their paycheck? No. You just try to find ways to learn from it, and then you move on and know you're going to breathe.
Yeah, and that's interesting to hear, because, again, being in the dental field myself, not practicing obviously, but for 18 years, and seeing so many practices from all different levels, and so many different teams functioning, not functioning, high achieving, not achieving. But the commonality of what you say is so true, that it is something that can be overcome. It's not the end of the world. And I think there's so much pressure put on individual dentists, as we see with a lot of mental health issues. And we talk about that a lot of time in our podcast, but also among conflict within team members as well, right? Get along, be good, do good. And again, the golden rule, like you said, but, people will laugh, because I always talk about kind of what you said, all boats can rise, and it's not necessarily, it has to be transactional, and that's with patients or teammates. So it's nice to hear that you lead with that and are successful doing that. And I hope more and more dentists and teams practice that. Conflict isn't necessarily a good thing. It's okay to get along. It's okay to be a good person in dentistry. You don't have to be a jerk or be overly hyper competitive where you're causing enemies, right? There's enough patience, there's enough goodwill, and we can all increase dentistry. So I guess I just want to say that, yeah, that's definitely appreciative.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I commend you, and I'm just kind of curious. So, you see people, in your own practice, but you also are a trainer and an educator. And so, what's a common question that people ask you? What is something that people come to you and say, "Hey, I need your advice on," and, is there something that comes up recurring that you are helping people with I mean, beyond the sort of, broad scope of team collaboration in general? What's recurring in the industry that you're seeing right now?
My biggest world is digital dentistry, and especially in the CEREC world specifically. So if anyone stole my phone, they'd be so disappointed. They would see lots of pictures of teeth, and then my texts are super sexy. It's like, hey, so I have this one crown and I need help with this one button in the CEREC software. Like I tend to be a CEREC
Nice.
question answerer.
Okay, yeah.
My current theme is definitely, how do I paint that single central to make it look more natural? How do we adapt this technology into our practice, that kind of thing. So
Okay, I love it. So, I mean, you're super smart. Okay. And, there's just so many layers to who you are. So let me ask you personally, how do you juggle it in your relationship? Because, you both are these sort of superstars, these legends in dentistry. And so how do you guys juggle your personal world? And I mean, you both seem so excited. I presume that's because there's a common interest, but what is it? What's the secret there?
I think our secret is that we understand each other's life in that. We know that we're busy. We know that we travel. We understand the life of traveling. Like if I have to sit and work on my slides after 5 p.m., that's just what we do. And we're okay with that. And then when we do get that alone time, and we do love to travel, it's very precious. And that's where we're not planned. Like we love to go to Europe and we will not plan a single thing. And then we wake up when we wake up and then we will just walk around the city. And if we want to stop and have a glass of wine, great. If we want to go wine tasting, great. But that's kind of our time that it's not so appointed, since our life tends to be
So I'm
very structured.
laughing a little bit because we're at this live event and I heard Dr. Moody, and we're going to be candid for a second, say right before he got on stage, he just said, listen, when the timer runs out, I'm just going to walk off stage. He said, because I've got a flight, I've got things to do, and so he's really candid, but he has drawn boundaries and he's really serious. And in the sense, I mean, he's a sweetheart, of course, but he's serious in that, he understands his boundaries. Do you feel like you have the same boundaries that you're able to draw and hold to them?
I've learned a lot from Justin. Dentistry was my entire life. And I didn't give myself permission to have anything beyond that. Like I am a goal-oriented person. I want to get to that next goal. When I hit that goal, okay, great. What's the next thing? And so when I wasn't doing dentistry, whether it was working on slides or actually practicing or working on my business, I had a really tough time being able to just let go. And Justin's done a very good job at showing me it's okay. Like we are going to go drink wine and we are going to have this other business and add to people's lives in a different way. And it's okay. Give yourself permission to do that.
Obviously, our name of our podcast is Influential Dental, and obviously being influencer. But I want to go back and find out who influenced you or currently influences you, maybe early in your career, maybe who influences you now, maybe who you would like to, connect with or strategize with in the future. And then maybe something out to the dentists or the dental community that are out there on how they should influence, whether it's in their own companies or in their own practices. So just kind of your feelings on that.
Yeah, man, I have a long list. I just try to absorb anything I can from everybody who's willing to share. And I was a huge CE junkie right out of school. I just love to learn. And the fact that people take their time out of their own personal lives to give that information so freely is what I love. And I was really fortunate early on. I got involved in a Seattle study club. And at that time, there's still all the big hitters. You had Spear and Coyce and all these huge names that I didn't even know were big names at the time. And you'd go to these meetings and they would actually take time to give advice on, like, I would chase them around with my phone saying, please look at this case. Now today I'm mortified that I did that, but they took the time to spend with me, whether it was on the business side or on the clinical dentistry side. And I'm just so appreciative. And I always hope I can give that back as well. That's something that's really important to me. But so many people have just stepped in through that. I don't even know how many names I have.
No, that's great. And I guess what that is that there are people that will share. Don't be afraid. It's okay. You can chase them around the phone. They may give you the time, but if you don't ask, you don't get, right. So put
Absolutely.
yourself out there. Ask for advice. Go to conventions. Go to meetings like the American Dental Institute 2024 now. Well, next year 2025. But be out there. And I think Justin said that on stage as well. Come to these meetings to meet people. Go have dinner. Go have a drink. Network. Communicate. And so, yeah, no, that's great advice.
Love it. So going back to shutting down the brain, I guess we're just going to jump all around in this podcast. But do you feel like you have any mastery over that, or do you feel like you're still doing the same thing? Yeah, it's hard, right? She's shaking her head no. For the listeners who can't see her right now, she's like, no, I have not mastered those. I'm practicing.
I definitely have not mastered. I get tasks done ahead of time. And so if I know I have lectures coming up in January, February, then I'll make sure that I have everything I need for those lectures. And then we always take off between Christmas and New Year's. We go down to Central Oregon, down to Bend. Like I'll ski and I will enjoy that time because I know, okay, I already have all these ducks in a row, but I have to be very organized to allow myself to do that. I'm definitely not a last minute person.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, to shut off my brain. I love to read, and I will alternate between reading for fun versus reading business books. Again, not really shutting off because you're just always applying what's going to happen in life. But that's just one of my ways.
Do you feel like you and Dr. Justin Moody are opposites, or do you come to things the same? Do you both learners? Does he like to read? Are you both, how have you guys both come into this industry? How do you make buying decisions, for example? Is it the same or very different?
Oh, no, we are so different. We couldn't be more different. Justin very much, as far as like buying decisions, he leads with his heart. Like he can make anything happen. And Justin's gift is he dreams bigger than I ever would imagine possible in dentistry. I am very analytical. I love numbers. I love to know the ins and outs I'm definitely more of a micromanager, and he would be a CEO and I would be a COO. Like that is our complement to each other.
Yeah. So I always think it's interesting how people relate to each other because we all come to things differently, right? And so that can be really complementary and it can really support each other. It can be interesting all different ways. But then you also, when you recognize it, I think it's really interesting because you can lead teams and everything else based on understanding that everybody comes to these decisions differently, right? And how do you influence people if they learn differently, for example, or if technical things are important to you and you want to see statistics and all of that, and somebody else is the visionary, how do you put them in the right place, like on the, in the right seat on the bus, so to speak? Do you have any tips for how to do that with people?
You just have to come to people with where they're at. And I think that's really important. I love the book Traction. It really talks about that. Great book. There's a Radical Candor, one of my favorite books I've ever read, also really talks about seeing people for where they're at and not. The biggest mistake I made early in my career is I thought everyone should be like me. And it was finding out that actually having people that complement you is what's going to make your business better. Like, I don't want everyone to work just like I do. I need people who are willing to do the tasks that I don't like, or at a different pace or a different attention level. It's just how the world goes round. But it takes a little bit of maturity to realize that and realize that it's okay if not everyone's just like you.
I love that. And it's so honest because I remember doing the same thing. Like, I wish I could just hire somebody that does what I do, and then there's a point where you start to realize sometimes you got to hire people and also let them make mistakes because they're not as good as you, right? And you see this a lot in dentistry where people are trying to be perfectionists. And so they won't hire things out. And then they can't grow because they're not willing to sort of invite problems or take risks. Any tips on that? And I'll hand the mic to you.
I agree. You have to give people the gift of failure, and you have to be okay with that because you cannot learn unless you fail. I am such a believer in that. You don't learn from all your wins. You learn from your failures, and you have to be willing to fail yourself, but let other people fail and learn their own mistakes. And just know, again, at the end of the day, you're still going to be breathing. Like, it's okay if it wasn't the perfect shade match the first time. Still going to be breathing.
Right, but we'll still try to get to perfect.
I mean, of course, like I'll lose sleep over it.
Right, I'll lose sleep over it, but the patient will be okay.
The patient will be okay.
But I'll internalize it. No, I get it. I understand. Well, I'm going to kind of go back now to the winery because that's interesting. So what are some dates and what are some things? I know you brought that up, Julian, not to steal your thunder, but you wanted to talk more about the winery with the masterminds and how dentistry kind of comes together with commonality in wine drinking, so on and so forth. So I guess my question would be is kind of what's next in the winery's progression in 2025, and how can our listeners or people watching hear what's coming up with regarding masterminds and some of the other events that will be happening.
Yeah. So construction, we're hoping to be done by the end of 25 or early 26, right in time to release our reds. We have whites that are in the bottle right now. We have a Semillon and a Sauv Blanc that we absolutely love, but it takes a lot of time to make a really good red. So they're in barrel for 18 to 20, 24 months. So they'll be released in 26. And that's when we want to do our big launch. Hopefully we'll have our facility done and do some masterminds. I think what's really cool about the winery business that we're also hoping to introduce is you can learn so much from other businesses, and most winery owners are not just winery owners. They came from something else. So we have neighbors who were the founders of Best Buy, Fritz Maytag from Maytag Appliances, or Anchor Brewing, if you're a brewery person, is our neighbor. We have Jim Pride is our neighbor. Like, we have some really cool, Jim Pride is no longer with us, but his family, he was a big name in dentistry. There's so many things that you can learn, whether it's marketing or business tips or just how to sell, whatever that is that you can bring into dental. But sometimes to get that outside perspective is so unique. And that's what we want to introduce. We want to bring in our neighbors, highlight their wine, highlight their stories of how we can then bring that back to our own practices or businesses. And we're really excited to do that.
That's amazing. I'm so excited on every level. And I have a bottle, one of the bottles, I don't know which one I have, but you guys gave me one. I haven't opened it and I want to. So when I get back from this trip, I'm going to open that bottle of wine. And I can't wait to try it. So, it's so much stuff going on for you. And because you're an avid learner, and I know we have to wrap this up here in a minute, but if there was something that you wished you would have learned, or maybe wished you would have learned earlier in your career, what would that be? And what kind of advice could you give to people coming into dentistry out of school that could help fast track them if they did that thing? Besides these book recommendations, which I want to write down because I don't think I've read the one about candor.
Radical Candor.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an amazing book. Best advice. I think what's been really interesting in the teaching world is there's definitely been a shift witnessing, especially implants. The people who are taking the courses just keep getting younger and younger. And that is something that I was so terrified. I felt like I needed to get to a certain point in my career. I think I was practicing for 8 years before I really got serious about placing implants. And now these new grads straight out of school are just diving in and they're just not afraid. And I think that's so amazing. Now, I do think you have to be careful because at some point you still have to know the basics. You have to know how to treatment plan. And I think some of that kind of gets skipped over. And so you hope you get that all-encompassing care for the patient, because implant surgery is so sexy. Like, that is typically the big hot topic. But
so I think that's great because that's really a career jump. And I've seen that as well, where people hesitate to take those courses. Mm-hmm. I've seen it on that side. And you do see a lot more people getting into it. So any last advice on, where they should get some of that training?
So set up for that. I mean, clearly I'm a little biased.
Yeah. So we're going to set you up on this one, and this is a gift. Okay.
Thank you.
But we might as well. And then you can also share with our listeners where people can contact you or follow you on Instagram or wherever, because it's a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. My Instagram is Dr. Kris Aadland, Aadland. Education-wise, very biased. Justin has an amazing center called Implant Pathway down in Arizona. And what's so unique about it is it's live patient education. And that's how I got involved with it. I love the fact that it's a win-win for everybody. You get to try a product. So in this case, you can learn how to place implants. The patients who receive those implants get that work for free. And these are licensed dentists who deliver that.
So I guess my last question would be, Dr. Aadland, is where can folks find more information about the winery and other things you have going on?
Awesome. The winery, our website is Aadland. So my last name and then Moody. So AadlandMoody.com. We're trying to keep it updated. You can join our newsletter to see what we're doing. We're obviously on social as well. And we look forward to seeing everyone there.
Amazing.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for letting me just grab you and pull you over here. I really appreciate it. You are so much fun. I mean, really, I want to have you back on because you're so much fun. Your energy is so high. And so I love it. And so thank you. Just really appreciate you being on our show today.
Thank you for having me, and good job putting this out to the world. I think it's very needed. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.